I got to say, I don't know if just today's NFL is different. I'm not in those locker rooms, but the fact that you two came together and you have this type of relationship really says a lot about not only wanting to be successful football players, but also successful teammates, and then also pay it forward and give back, like later down the road, like when you made your move to the Chiefs and he's still playing with the Ravens and he's calling you for advice. That's huge. That's
Big,
huge.
big, big. Not only that, just like I said, I was going to touch on the fact of my injury, but that was many, many moons ago. That was like in 1995. But just like you, Jamal, I think I can definitely name the individuals that contributed to my knee injury. Like I know their jersey numbers, I know who
Sure.
was there, I know who hit me.
Can you see it like it's yesterday?
I
Like, can
really
you
can
see?
see it.
Yeah, yeah.
And to give you an example, Mark, I know Jamal had talked about Flynn and the lineman that was involved in his. Stoney Clark was the culprit. That
Okay.
was the
All right,
individual.
Stony.
Um,
Got you.
I talked about an
Free
open
guy.
step crossover downhill with Jamal. I was running a similar play in 1995. It was spring of all plays,
Okay.
of all days. It was in the springtime. And so I'm open step, crossover downhill, run through the line of scrimmage. I go about 15 yards down the field. Stoney Clark is running behind me, and he's our D lineman. So he's running behind me, and he trips. And as Stoney trips, I'm turning to my left to go back to the huddle to run the next play. And Stoney barrels into my left knee, clean break, tears my ACL.
Oh,
I'm
brutal.
devastated. And then not only that, but I also know Chris
Oh,
Carter. He was one of our defensive backs at that time. Brian Westbrook also, he played with Detroit. They each caught me on each side of my shoulders. They caught me by the arms and they said, "Priest, are you all right?" And I said, the first thing I said was, "I can't feel my knee and I don't think I can support myself. Just lay me on the ground." And I remember they just sat me on the ground, and then, the trainers came. And then, of course, you get this flash of like, what just happened? What am I going to do? And is this even happening to me right now? Because I'm supposed to be starting next season and having my best year ever. And I think for Jamal, coming off of the Super Bowl that we shared in, I think coming off of that game, the expectation still, regardless of how you trained, I know there was an expectation for you that next season of what you probably wanted to do. Share a little bit about that in terms of going into the season. What was your expectation of what you wanted prior to that injury?
man, the expectations was really, hey, to go out there and just really put it all together from the start and really just just be better. I wanted to be one of the best, if not the best, running backs in our conference. And in order to compete, you got to go out there and put in that work. And but it was tough because we had a lot of great running backs in the conference, in the league, period. But just starting with the conference, like that's where you want to be the best. You got to conquer that first. And it was just like we going out here to practice, we working, we getting it in, and then all of a sudden you get a injury. It's like, man, it just hurts. But at the same time, just expectations always, man, is just to be the best, to be the best, to be the king, to be at the top at the end of the season, to get that rushing title. You know what that's like.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you both have tasted that glory. I'm over here. I get a splinter. I can't open a pickle jar for my wife, and you guys are dealing with major injuries and winning Super Bowls. Huge mental aspect to all that, right? Because you realize you are injured, and depending on how devastating that injury can be, it could be a short road back, it could be a long road back, right? So, talk a little bit about the mental aspect of succumbing to an injury and that road that you have to barrel through going forward.
Well, I think the first part of just having an injury is just looking at what's next. You've got workouts, you still got to train, you're going to have treatment by the clock, by the day. Then the body itself has a way of reminding you that you're human,
Yeah.
that you don't have the timetable, you don't control time. And I think with an injury like that, especially an ACL injury, it takes time. It's mind over matter. I think Jamal may share in this. I'd love to hear his perspective as well. But for me, it was more mental. And how could I get myself in a place to know that I could trust my knee again?
Mm-hmm.
I remember when I came back from my knee injury, I had a Don Joy knee brace. And this, Jamal, if you remember the Don Joy knee braces.
Those are the big mechanical
Big
ones, right? Yeah, yeah,
mechanical
yeah.
knee brace.
Things are crazy.
It had the strap that goes below the calf, the strap that goes on top of the thigh, and it just puts you on a railroad, and for me, my running style wasn't that. I was always looking about cutting back against the grain, setting up the player to get to the second level where the linebackers were at, and with a Don Joy knee brace on my left leg, it was impossible to do that. So for me, it was just rehab, trying to figure out how I'm going to run with this knee brace, and then of course the timing of how things happen. And so, Jamal, how was that timing for you when you were coming back through your rehab during that 2001 season?
So during the 2001 season, I had already had a knee injury in college, so I kind of knew how to approach it. And I approached it more as, hey, it's like a season. It's a whole other season. So just get prepared for all of your physical therapy and just everything else that goes with it and trying to get healthy. But I just remember, the same way I approached my first one is coming back. I was just like, if it's fixed, it's fixed. And I had the same surgeon too that did my first one. So I trusted him that he was going to do the things the right way and get me back right. But at the point of coming back to practice, I honestly was like, I don't want a brace. I don't want anything. Like, let's go. If it's fixed, it's fixed. If you say it's fixed, it's fixed. Because guess what? If something's going to happen, it's going to happen now. So there it is. And a brace is not going to help it. So I just went out there and just trusted that my surgeon did a great job and that, hey, I did what I needed to do from a physical therapy standpoint. But like you said, it's mental. It's mental. It's all mental, honestly. So you got to have great thoughts and just know that you can trust in this knee that it's going to hold up, and that you put in the work. So it's all mental though. I hate to see guys go down with with injuries or whatever, but with anything else, it's a mind thing, and that's the best healer I think you have, and that's just having some positive thoughts that you'll be ready to go.
Yeah, Mark, I think Jamal touched on a couple of things just in this point, and one was about trusting the knee,
Right.
and then trusting your surgeon that's been with that responsibility of getting you back on the field. And for me, I think that initially when I put that knee brace on, I knew right away, like Jamal said, that I can't run with this. I feel like I'm on a railroad tracks. I can't cut left or right. This isn't going to work. So I got to the point, it's very similar to Jamal, to where I just said, hey, if the knee is fixed, then I'm going to have to trust that it is.
Right.
And then I'm going to have to get out there and test it. And so I think that was probably one of the best decisions for me, as putting that knee brace down and getting into the field and playing.
I mean, I can't imagine what making that first cut was like. You took the brace off, was like making the first cut. Were you just, what was your brain doing?
Well, Mark, initially, and like Jamal, we have to load that knee, in terms of making that cut. And,
Right.
Initially you may not want to put much pressure on there. But I think once you get comfortable in practice and you start, doing your rehab, and I think a lot of that also in terms of just following up with your rehab routine, that really helps you and give you the confidence to get back on that knee. So there's a number of techniques that I was doing in the off season. And then when it was time to really put the load on the knee, it was there. I was confident. It got to a point where I just said, regardless of how this thing goes, I'm going to have to trust that it's fixed the right way. So loading the knee was the most important thing. Jamal, what was it for you as far as loading your knee on a play?
Hey, Priest, did you have the scar tissue scare? Because when you get that scar tissue, it pops. You might think that you just popped another ligament.
That's right.
And I had that little scare of the scar tissue. The scar tissue just kind of popped, and I was like, oh no. But at the same time, it just wore off or whatever. But that scar tissue scare, I tell everybody, you're gonna have to make that cut, and that hard cut. You gonna break up some scar tissue or something that's in there.
That's right.
Gotta mix it up. All right, look, huge shout out to all the surgeons, all the doctors, team staff, medical, the whole nine, to get you, both of you, back up and running. I can't imagine what that task is like either. Holmes Stretch is exclusively brought to you by Bet365. Breaking news from Bet365. New customers bet $5 and get $300 in bonus bets, win or lose. Sign up, place a bet for $5 and get $300 in bonus bets, win or lose. Bonus bets can be used on the spread, player props, futures, and so much more. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Gambling problem? Call or text 1-800-GAMBLER in Arizona, Colorado, Illinois, Indiana, Kansas, Kentucky, Louisiana, Maryland, North Carolina, New Jersey, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, and Virginia. Or 1-800-BETS-OFF in Iowa. 21 plus only, 18 plus in Kentucky. Please gamble responsibly. Must be present in Arizona, Colorado, Iowa, Illinois, Indiana, Kansas, Kentucky, select parishes in Louisiana, Maryland, North Carolina, New Jersey, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, and Virginia. $10 minimum deposit required. Terms and conditions apply. In-app only.
This has been a Playmaker production.